Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm on some Heathland in Suffolk, and it's a really lovely environment, and I don't know if you can see in the background, but the heather's still in bloom. We're into September now, but it's come out and stayed out for quite a long time this year, so it's great in a really beautiful environment. And today I'm looking for Heathland birds, so things like stonechats, meadow pipits, and maybe Dartford Warblers. I mean, Dartford Warbler is the thing I'd really like to get. It would be the icing on the cake. But we'll see what other Heathland birds turn up. And what I'm going to basically do is find a spot, and here's as good as anywhere because we've got the bracken here and the heather creating a nice background, and then we've got some sort of little shrubs and stuff that create perches, and I'm hoping for these Heathland birds to pop up and a little bit high so they're not in the undergrowth. I'll get a really nice shot with a lovely background of heather in the background perhaps, and that will be perfect. And as I say, what I'm ideally looking for is Dartford Warblers, but they are quite scarce actually. They're on the edge of their range here actually, and during the winter, if we have a really hard winter, you know, it can be very hard for Dartford Warblers, so their numbers tend to stay quite low in the UK, but it would be great if I see those. Not, you know, 100% thinking I will, but fingers crossed. This is a good area for Dartford Warblers. And it's a good area for other Heathland birds, things like stonechats, meadow pipits, lots of warblers. So it's looking good. Now, because I'm probably going to be moving around a bit today, even though I'm going to be static for a while, I've got my 200 to 500 zoom. I didn't bring the 600 prime because that's just way heavy to carry around. And I'm on a monopod because that makes, again, cuts the weight down. I didn't want to bring a big tripod with a gimbal head. So that's all good. Now, because these are small birds, I need a fairly fast shutter speed. I'm going to be shooting between 1,000th and a 2,000th of a second. And I've stopped the lens down to f7.1, so that makes the lens just a little bit sharper. So ideally, this is a maximum aperture of f5.6. So if I can stop the lens down to 2/3 of a stop, so f7.1, that will make my pictures just a little bit sharper. And at the moment, we've got quite a lot of light. We've got very light cloud and some breaks in the cloud, so my light levels are okay. So it means I can stop the lens down but still maintain a fast enough shutter speed to freeze the motion of these small birds, and I'll just adjust my ISO accordingly. But at the moment I'm on ISO 400, so it's going to give me a nice grain free image without sacrificing lens sharpness or shutter speed, so it's all good. And as I say, I find in this situation it's not worth chasing around trying to find the animals. It's better to let them come to you. So hopefully I'm going to stay in a single spot and I'll get these animals just pop up, and I'll get some great pictures. So I'm really looking forward to today. I love being out on this sort of environment, this open heathland. We'll get hopefully loads of Heathland birds. I should get some good photographs in the bag, fingers crossed, and obviously I'll put them on the end of this video. If I need to, I've also got a poncho, a camouflage poncho that I can put over to you know, keep myself a little bit more less intrusive. But I tend to find actually, if you stand still and don't move around, then the birds sort of pretty much ignore you. And we're outside the breeding season now, so it's late September, mid-September, sorry. Or early September actually, but we're outside the breeding season, so there's no way I'm going to disturb any birds on the nest. And when it comes to wildlife photography, I find that obviously for me, the welfare of the animal is the most important thing. So if it meant stressing a wildlife subject to get a picture, I would just never do that. So I'm shooting at a good time in terms of animal welfare, but it might make it a bit harder to get the images because these birds won't be up sort of singing and protecting a territory. But we'll see. Fingers crossed. I'm enjoying being out regardless of what happens, and hopefully I'll get some really good images. So I think I'll say bye for now guys, and I'll speak to you soon. Hi guys, so I sort of struck out this morning on the Heathland, really didn't see a single bird, and I've sort of made things difficult for myself, to be honest, because the best time for this sort of photography is early spring, when, you know, the animals are out looking for territory, so they're popping up onto the sort of the heath and the brambles and the trees and singing. Now that doesn't mean you can't take, obviously, do this type of bird photography at this time of year in early autumn, but it just makes it a lot harder. So I've moved over to off the Heathland to this area of brambles and gorse, and there's a few birds flitting around. I've seen a chaffinch or a couple of chaffinches, so hopefully I might get pictures of those. Now obviously it's not the Dartford Warbler, which is what I wanted, but to be honest I wasn't 100% confident, I wasn't even 50% confident that I was going to get Dartford Warblers today, and I don't think there's any chance, to be honest. They are around. Someone spotted a Dartford Warbler yesterday over on the Heathland where I was, but it's you know, it is a bit hit and miss really, so I'm probably going to keep my eyes open just in case, because down that way they've been spotted as well, so you never know. But the fact of the matter is I'm concentrating on other things. So yeah, as I say, chaffinches are fairly common birds, but they're really lovely to photograph, so I'm going to try and get those guys, and then I'm probably going to start looking at maybe a few water birds. So we've got some hides over here and down there, so I'm probably going to switch to water birds and see what I can find. But look, it's great to be out. The thing with wildlife photography is you never ever know whether you're going to get any pictures or not, and it may well be I do the whole day and I don't get anything, and that's absolutely fine, because you know, if you're not out you've got no chance of getting a photograph. If you are out, you've got some chance. And I think I've mentioned this on many videos before, but with landscape photography it's definitely a little bit more predictable. You can predict the weather to a certain extent. You maybe already know the location, and I would normally recce a location before I go and photograph it, so you've got a rough idea of what sort of shots you want to get and a good chance of getting them. There's just a don't know what that was or what that is, but there's something down there. I haven't got any good shots yet. I literally saw a bird drop into those brambles, but it's gone right under the undergrowth, so I'm going to keep an eye and see if it pops up again. But yeah, so landscapes are a lot more predictable than wildlife photography. With wildlife photography, you sort of got to accept that some days you're not going to come home with any images, and this might be one of those days. But I'm still having a great time. I hope you're enjoying this vlog, and I'll speak to you at the end of the day with or maybe without any pictures. Hi guys, as I mentioned earlier, we struck out with the Dartford Warblers, but we're here in a really nice reserve in Mincemead. We're going to start looking for water birds, right? Do you reckon? Yeah. Because what do you reckon the chances of us coming across a Dartford Warbler for the rest of the afternoon? Zero. Yeah. Do you know what? It is about zero. So we're giving up with the Dartford Warblers, as I might have mentioned earlier in this video. So now we're going to concentrate on seabirds or water birds, and hopefully we'll get something. But to be honest, as I also said earlier, don't really care if we don't get any shots today. It's just nice being out, and you don't always get the picture with wildlife photography, do you? You know, how many times have you spent out when you don't get any pictures at all? Loads, isn't it? Yeah. So you know, that's wildlife photography for you. So if I haven't got a load of pictures to put on the end of this vlog, that's been a wildlife photographer. You know, unless you're doing sort of captive animals, which I don't do, you can never guarantee whether you're going to get a subject or not. So I'm going to say bye for now. I'm having a great time with my mates, so it doesn't really matter, and we're going to go off and do some water birds. So see you soon, guys. Alongside getting some pictures of some water birds, so I got a shot of a heron taken off, which was fantastic, and some waders, I think maybe sandpipers, but I'm going to check that in a minute. I also got these great shots of a kestrel, and I'm so pleased. It was a great experience. This is the first picture of the kestrel that I took, and as you can see it's quite small in the frame because I was a fair distance away, and I took a whole series of pictures actually, because I wanted to get a few in the bag before I attempted to move forwards. And then if we look at this next shot, so the kestrel's bigger in the frame because I'm closer to it, so I moved forward, and when I walked towards the kestrel I didn't walk directly towards it, I walked at an angle, so that way you're less threatening. I walked along at an angle, keeping my head down and not looking directly at the kestrel, and I managed to get quite close, and I took this picture and a whole series of other pictures, and I was really pleased with these. It was great. And the kestrel was really not bothered about my presence at all, so I took a few more steps forward, and generally I was waiting for it to turn its head and look off into the distance, and I got really close, the closest I've ever been to a wild kestrel, I think. And I got this series of last pictures here, and as you can see they're big in the frame. This picture's uncropped, so it was a great experience. But as I say, the subject, the kestrel, wasn't stressed at all. It was completely comfortable with my presence, and I took a good few pictures for probably 2 or 3 minutes before it took off and started hunting sort of over the fields and the bracken. So it was an absolutely brilliant wildlife experience. And as I say, you never know when these things are going to come to you. I spent the whole morning with, as I said, without getting a single picture, and then in the afternoon I got these great pictures of a kestrel. And you know, who doesn't like a picture of a bird of prey like a kestrel? It was just absolutely a fantastic wildlife experience, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Hi guys, it's been an absolutely brilliant day. I'm just about packing up, ready to go home. I've had tea and chocolate, which is fabulous. And after spending a good part of this video saying I might not get any shots, and it might be one of those days where I just strike out and there's no images to put on this video, I've had a brilliant afternoon. I've got some great water birds, so I think some sandpipers, but I need to have a look at the book because waders are quite hard to identify sometimes. I've got a lovely shot of a heron taking off. And then as I come out the hide and I was walking down through the brambles again, I've got some really lovely shots of a kestrel. So we had this kestrel just up in the branches, and I managed to really slowly walk up, and I've got some really frame-filling shots of kestrel. So this afternoon it's been great. I didn't get any Dartford Warblers, which is a shame, but I think I'll probably come back to this area next spring when you know, I've got a much greater chance of getting that sort of picture and that sort of animal, getting photographs of the Dartford Warblers. But in compensation this afternoon, it's just been brilliant. I've got herons, a lovely taken off shot of the heron. I've got some really good water bird shots, and really to cap it all, sort of the cherry on the top of the cake was the kestrel. I've got really close to the kestrel without, you know, causing it any sort of disruption. I just took my time and moved up a few feet at a time, and it was on the top of a branch, and it was just there. I got some lovely, lovely shots. So all in all, I'm so pleased with today's photography. And so I hope you've enjoyed this vlog. It's sort of I think a really typical day of wildlife photography actually. Sometimes you don't get anything, and we didn't get anything in the morning, but this afternoon was brilliant. So you never know when your luck's going to change, and you just have to spend the hours and take the time. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you have enjoyed it and you haven't already considered subscribing to my channel, if you could subscribe, that would be great. And if you do subscribe, press the little bell icon and you'll be notified when my next video is uploaded. And then aside from that, it's always great if you can like and share the video. It always helps my channel. So thanks very much for watching. As I say, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you on my next video.